ladies and gentlemen, students and faculty of Weiser High School. I want to thank Mr. Dickerson and Mr. Clark for providing us the opportunity to present our program, and I want to welcome all of the veterans that are with us here today. Welcome as we celebrate this 2023 Veterans Day program. Today, we pay a special tribute to a member of our community who throughout the years was a member of our color guard and an honored veteran of the Korean War, PFC Kenneth Webb. Here today, and those in attendance are Lieutenant Colonel Eric Grunke, U.S. Marine Corps, 2001 to 2022. Major Stephen Fenske, U.S. Air Force, 1969 to 1976. U.S. Air National Guard, 1979 to 1999. First Sergeant Rob Lewis, U.S. Army National Guard, 1971 to 2001. CT-1 Ben Parsons, 2004 to 2010, Linguistic Intelligence Specialist. Sergeant Bob Barker, Marine Corps, 1965 to 1971. Sergeant Alex Cheveria, U.S. Air Force, 1981 to 1985. Our color guard today, First Sergeant Charles Marvin, retired U.S. Army, 1974 to 1994. Staff Sergeant Brad Atterbury, U.S. Army National Guard, 1983 to 1993, U.S. Army Iraq, 2004 to 2005. Staff Sergeant Janet Hill, U.S. Air Force, 1972 to 1977. CTI-1 Dick Bergquist, U.S. Navy, 1979 to 1992, Korea linguist. And our bugler, Spec 4 John Hoff, 1967 to 1973, military police. Band, good job. Armistice Day, World War I, 1914 through 1918. In 1918, Armistice Day took place on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. An armistice, or a temporary cessation of hostilities, was declared between the Allied nations and Germany in World War I, better known as the Great War. 1926, U.S. Congress adopted a resolution making Armistice Day a day of observation. 1947, the first National Veterans Day celebration. 1954, President Eisenhower signed a bill into law, and Congress amended that bill, replacing Armistice Day with what we know today as Veterans Day. 1968, it was looked upon as the fourth Monday of October until 1978, when it was changed back to the 11th hour, 11th day of the 11th month. Veterans Day. In the aftermath of World War II and the Korean War, Armistice Day became known as, like we know today, Veterans Day. And Veterans Day this year will occur on Saturday, November the 11th. It is on this day that we pay respect and we give gratitude to the men and women who gave their lives in defense of our country. 1917 to 1919, World War I, 53,402 KIAs, or killed in action. 21 were from Weiser. 1941 to 1945, World War II, 291,557 KIAs. 53 were from Weiser. 1950 to 1953, the Korean War, 33,686 killed in action. 3 were from Weiser. 1963 to 1975, the Vietnam War, 58,220 KIA, 5 from Weiser. 1990 to 1991, Desert Shield/Storm, 292 killed in action, 0 from Weiser. 2003 to 2011, the Iraq War, 4,421 KIAs, unknown from Weiser. And last but not least, 2001 to 2021, Afghanistan, 2,420 men and women killed in action. Again, unknown amount of veterans from Weiser. Major Fenske, take charge of the presentation and post the colors.
Aye, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the parading of the colors. Bugler, sound attention. Honor guard, parade the colors.
Right shoulder, up. Forward, up. Left turn, hook. Detail, hook. Order, hook.
Present, pulse.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran glad, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
Right turn, hook. Left turn, hook. Forward, hook.
Please take your seats. I want to tell you what an honor it is to be able to do this at least another year. On behalf of Commander Jim Grunke, who has been my idol throughout the years, I want to thank him for being present. But I want to ask everybody a very serious question. When you think of the word hero, what comes to mind? Anybody? Tell me what a hero is. Nobody?
My dad.
Your dad. Thank you. Was your dad in the service, or was your dad did something? All right. Anybody else?
My brother.
Your brother? Okay. And you know why he's a hero, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Cambridge Dictionary defines a hero, and I quote, a person who is admired in having done something very brave. And that's what you're talking about. Or having achieved something very great. My next question is how many of you seen Top Gun? Show of hands. Oh, yeah. How about part 2? Did you see part 2? Oh, yeah. Wasn't it great? Tom Cruise zooming through the air, breaking all the sound barrier and all that stuff. Wasn't that a great movie? You're right. It was a great movie. Emphasis on the word movie. I have personally known our next speaker since he was a little boy. My lovely wife and I had the distinct pleasure of watching over him for his parents from time to time, and he loved his peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that she made. Little did we know that he would soon grow to follow in his father's footsteps. So let me tell you a real Top Gun story, one that you could hold in your hearts. In March of 2011, during the attack by NATO forces on Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and the killing of his own people, a U.S. Air Force F-15 fighter pilot and his weapons systems officer were shot down in enemy territory. Both the pilot and his weapons officer safely ejected from the aircraft prior to it landing in this hostile area. Though the pilot's weapons officer was able to be picked up by the local forces and extracted, the pilot, he was not so fortunate. The pilot was being pursued by Gaddafi forces on the ground and was attempting to evade his pursuers. Lieutenant Eric Grunke, then Captain Grunke, piloting his Harrier jet, picked up the downed pilot's communication distress and without hesitation, immediately responded to the downed pilot's location. The pilot, believing that he wasn't going to be able to avoid capture, asked Captain Grunke to tell his wife that he loved her. Captain Grunke assured the downed pilot that the Marines were there to rescue him. Captain Grunke went into action, disseminating the pilot's pursuers by dropping 2 500-pound bombs on the enemy pursuers, forcing them to retreat, making way for the safe rescue of the downed pilot. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the real definition of a hero. It is with great honor and privilege that I introduce to you the 1997 high school graduate, son of Commander Jim and Judy Grunke, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Grunke.
Major Fenske, thank you for that warm introduction and kind words. I'd like to begin by saying thank you to the organizers, my dad being one, and all the other members of the community, veterans that have been putting this program on for so many years. For the students in the audience, if you've been here like I was, starting in elementary school, you've seen this ceremony countless times over the years. And they do that in recognition of the members of the community who served, but also for you, so that you can get a taste of the hard work and sacrifice that the veterans have put into the country. And for you to think about that you are that next generation, and where we go as a nation is in your hands. And we hope that things like this will make you remember the hard work and sacrifice of those that have walked before you, and keep that in mind. So Major Fenske had a lot of nice things to say there about my story in March of 2011. And as I raced across the moonlit sky, across the Mediterranean Sea to east of Benghazi that night, and listened to the pilot on the radio being chased by forces that wanted to do him harm and capture him, I was thinking about people like this to my left and to my right, other veterans who had come before me, because I walk in the shadows of giants, those that came ahead of me, and I just hope that what I did that night, that I would be able to live up to their greatness, and hope that I could be remembered as a hero that night in what took place. And I was fortunate enough, based on my training, and that I was well prepared, and it ended up being a great and excellent story at the end of the night. But it's really thanks to those that had come before me that helped me see where I needed to be and how to behave that and fly that night. I would also like to say that, as Major Fenske mentioned, I was a Weiser High graduate in 1997. Ran up and down this basketball court in another giant, shadow of a giant right over there, Mr. Darrell Walker. Tried to be like him on the basketball court. But I was also in the band. I ran cross country, I ran track, I sang in the choir. I was in various, science and other classes here at school. And I say that because it was important to me, and thanks to my mom and dad, that I was well diversified in my experience in high school. I did a lot of things. And I believe that really paid dividends later in life. And case in point was that night in March of 2011. I had no idea that when I took off from the ship that night that I was going to rescue a downed airman. But I had a varied background. I was able to adapt my mind to the situation at hand and be well prepared to provide fires to support the airmen on the ground. And I really believe that having you come from a community like Weiser and having done a lot of different things growing up, it made me able to think quickly and change my mindset as needed to be successful that night. I'd like you just to think about what your future holds and how you can leave those seats just like I sat in over 20 years ago and do great things. If you work hard, you have perseverance, you have grit, you can go anywhere and you too can be a hero someday if you put your mind to it. Now I would like to say a few words about a very important member of our community who we are honoring today as part of this ceremony. Kenneth Dewlen Webb. Private First Class Kenneth Dewlen Webb was born May 19th, 1929, and passed away not long ago, September 15th, 2023. PFC Webb was husband to Donna Webb and father to Tracy, Wendy, and Ron. He was an honored member of the Weiser community for 94 years. A veteran of the Korean War, PFC Kenneth Webb entered Korea aboard the General House. The war started on January 25th, 1950, when North Korean troops crossed over the 38th parallel. This war lasted 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. We celebrate the 70th anniversary of that war, which is still considered the Forgotten War. It was given that name because it fell between World War II and the controversial Vietnam conflict. PFC Webb served as a cook in his company, ensured that the combat troops on the ground were fed well. He returned to the States after the war ended and was discharged in 1953. He was reunited with his wife Donna, who met him with open arms, and their 2-month-old daughter, Tracy. He held Tracy in his arms long enough to minimize her contact with his woolen uniform, which was, to say the least, very itchy. Kenneth Webb was one of the original riflemen in our honor guard. He participated in march in numerous parades and ceremonies through the streets of Weiser during Fiddle Week, and the 4th of July for many years before his health made it impossible for him to continue. Ken wrote many articles for the Weiser Signal newspaper of stories of faith and inspiration. He was one of the founding members of the American Legion, which is now home to the Weiser Little Theater. Ken rose to the rank of commander for the American Legion here in Weiser, where he served from 1953 through 2020. His contribution to both the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign War speak highly to his dedication and devotion to his country and the American flag. Ken made certain that the Weiser Little Theater would still be made available to our American Legion members and our VFW members and veterans within the Weiser community. Ken was a hardworking man and great provider for his family. He put in many years at the cement plant in Huntington. His character was always looked upon as a gentleman, a fine husband, and a great father. But most of all, a good friend. In the Bible, under Genesis 1, verses 26 and 27, it reads, God made man in his own image according to his likeness. There's no doubt that Kenneth Webb may have been the one who he had in mind. So today we honor our fallen comrade for his many years of service. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor PFC Kenneth Webb. Thank you.
Oh, glory. I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over the great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident. I am arrogant. I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher, my colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am saluted. I am respected. I am revered. I am loved. But most of all, I am feared. I have fought in every battle for more than 200 years. Brandywine, Chesapeake Bay, Tippecanoe, Fort McHenry, Shiloh, Antietam, Gettysburg, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, Argonne Forest, Anzio, the Coral Sea, Midway, the beaches of Normandy, Guam, Okinawa, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, the Balkans, and a score of places long forgotten by all but those who were with me. I was there. I led my sailors, soldiers, airmen, and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill in Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired. But my Marines cheered me on, and I was proud. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on in streets of countries that I have helped set free. It doesn't hurt, for I am invincible. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on in streets of my own country. When it is by those who I have proudly served, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted frontiers of space. I have been a silent witness to all of America's finest hours. But my finest hour comes when I am torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly at half-mast in honor of my sailors, and when I lay in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the graveside of her fallen son or daughter. I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave. Dear God, long may I wave.
President of the United States and members of the nation, please accept this flag as a token of our gratitude for your loss and sacrifice of you and your people.
Mount. Forward.
I'll be followed by First Sergeant Rob Lewis for the reading of the invocation.
Our heads, please. We come together today to honor all veterans, past and present and future. We ask your special blessing on all of our brave men and women that have served and are serving and will serve in our great nation. We ask your blessing on these young men and women here at Weiser High School, that they may always honor our flag and our country. May this day be filled with honor, respect, and dignity. In your great name, we pray, amen.
Amen. Please stand. Honor guard, retrieve the colors.
Right shoulder. Forward. Left turn. Detail. What up?
Present. Halt. Order. Halt. Return the colors.
Right shoulder. Left turn. Forward.
Take your seats, please. Colonel Dewlen, this concludes our program.
Ladies and gentlemen, students of Weiser High School, thank you for the opportunity to share this special day with you. Thank you for faculty that are veterans. Alongside these veterans, thank you for your service and what you've done for our great country. And let it be known that if there's any veteran that needs assistance today,
to seek one of us out up here, and we'll ensure you get the proper assistance from our representative over at Payette. With that said, stand by, students. Let our visitors get up and come out. And when you do get released, you'll be going back to fourth hour. Fourth hour.
I think this works. I had a commanding voice at one point. And these are veterans, and I want them each to identify what branch they were in or what year they served.
John Blake, U.S. Army, 1975 to 1978. Thank you, John.
Harvey Barada, 1972, Weiser graduate. I served from 1976 to 1995.
I'm making my way.
Wade Garrett, U.S. Navy, 1956 to 1976. My wife, Navy veteran, sitting right beside me.
1962 through 1964.
That was a Vietnam veteran. Thank you both for your service.
I'm Jim Grunke. I served in 1954. I enlisted in the Navy when I was in high school. And I spent several years on active duty, and I hardly believe it myself, but I was commissioned innocent from a first-class petty officer. And I served as a cryptologist, and there's a gentleman here in our audience who was a cryptologist also, Korean War, Korean spokesman.
Thank you.
Sergeant J.R. Barber, U.S. Marine Corps, 1965 to 1971.
CTI 1 Parsons, active duty from 2004 to 2010, and a reservist from 10 to this year. I just retired.
Cecilia Ham, U.S. Navy, from 1973 to 76, and then I returned back in the military about 1989 to 1998.
Okay, I want to thank you all for coming today. I want to finish on a final note, if I could, Colonel. You know, we recognized, and the Colonel identified how many people from the city of Weiser have died throughout the years. The special research on the part of Mr. Bob Barber, Sergeant Barber, we come to find out that for some time now, we have lost veterans, not to war, but we have lost veterans to the tune of 1,138 people from the city of Weiser throughout 1968, I believe, to the present. That's a lot. So please keep that in mind, that other than the ones we've lost in war, we have lost some really service people that we want to be able to recognize. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your participation.